You're on the road beyond. I'm Todd Duplantis. Good evening to you and glad to have you with us, watching us on Facebook Live and YouTube. We appreciate you joining us this evening. We've got a bit of a special show for you. We've got a special guest who's joining us now as my guest co-host. Of course, Kat Franzmeyer is on vacation this week and next. Well, actually, she's working. I shouldn't say she's on vacation. She's actually working for the next couple of weeks, and she's out of the country. But I'm glad to have Tuesday Miles, psychic medium, and my co-host joining me tonight. Tuesday, good to see you.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. I'm excited. Hi, Kat. Sorry you're not here, but I'm going to fill in for you.
Make it. Yeah, she couldn't make it. She's in Stockholm right now, so she's on.
Okay. Well, she's working. Okay.
Yeah, actually, she's on a plane right now. She'll be in Stockholm in about 12 hours. So, but it's good to have you with us Tuesday. We're going to have you with us for the next couple of weeks, and next week is going to be special because I want you to get one of your friends, a guest on the show. So we won't say who it is yet, but you can line up for next week.
Okay. Yeah, right. That sounds great. I got a whole bunch in there.
So I want to talk about a few things, but before we get into our discussion, I want to talk about some news because we usually start the show off with some crazy ass news. And this week is no exception because Tuesday, we've got an interesting story as our main story for tonight, just to let people know what's going on in the world of bizarre stories.
Todd, this is about a man who is claiming to be a former NASA. He was a NASA employee, and he went on to saying, for the record, though, this is what it says here, for the record, that he had witnessed a meter-tall alien. What is that, 6 foot, something like that?
3 meters.
3 meters. Okay, if it's 3 meters, so 3 meters should be what, about 6 foot tall?
9 feet. That's like 9.
Oh, that's 9 feet?
Yeah, can you believe it?
Oh, yeah, that's pretty tall. Anyways, but he had witnessed him directing a crew of astronauts in space.
Yeah, Clark McClellan says he worked at the Kennedy Space Center when he saw the incident on Tuesday. He claims the rather large entity stood on 2 legs and began using hand gestures to instruct the American astronauts who were performing a mission. And he says other employees were present when this happened. They saw the same thing. In fact, he said these aliens beings maintain a watch over NASA and mankind, get this, via a huge space station hovering hidden in our universe. So, of course, there's got to be a catch, Tuesday.
Well, he says that apparently because there was no record of him in the official, I guess, NASA website on this, right, that because he went public with his story, they stripped him of his pension. Now, I'm just wondering, wouldn't that be top secret stuff that he shared?
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure he did this, from what I understand, in an interview back in 2012, when the claim just recently came back up in the news again. I think maybe it was on a national website. So it came back up. He says he doesn't have his pension any longer because of this. People are saying you never even worked for NASA in the first place. So there is a little bit of this and that going on. But you got to admit, it's a bizarre story and crazy.
Yeah. Right, it is. But when you sign up for something like this, you sign those papers. It says you don't tattletale on whatever we do. You don't. And
they don't play around at NASA. They don't want you exposing the alien agenda yet. They're controlling that themselves.
Well, don't you think it would create fear though if they really went public and said all that? Look, we do have some aliens that we work with. I mean, whether people are going to start, hiding in spaceships to try to get up there where they're at, or people start getting really afraid about it. So
I agree with you. I think maybe you'd get a bit of craziness going on out there. But here's the problem I have with all of this. You've seen the disclosure that they came out with over the last year where they released this report. They showed us these videos that was just, a whole bunch of nothing. And then they said, well, we really don't know what it is. Okay. What they aren't saying, and this is the reason why I think they aren't saying that there's aliens out there, because what they're going to have to say is there are things flying around the skies. We don't know what they are, but here's the catch. There's no way in hell that we can prevent them from attacking us or protect you from them. That would cause mass pandemonium.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree on that. And I'm surprised that, how much more can we prove that they exist? I mean, really, we do have quite a bit of proof.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for those that are show after show that they keep saying, well, we want to present this as proof. Okay, well, let's move on to the next. I want to know, where are they?
Right.
They've got to be. If they have access here and they know all this information about a friend that's out by Magic Mountain, California. Right. He claims that he sees them come in and out of the mountains that are over there all the time.
Well, and you also hear about Mount Rainier. That is another location in the U.S. where you hear of, and you and I were talking about this when we were preparing the show, and you said there's some correlation with mountains, but you also said something about dams as well. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What is the correlation with that?
And well, I've seen actually them over in Laughlin, Arizona, Laughlin, Nevada, city from the water. They're getting energy for some reason. They are getting energy off of that stuff. They got to fuel it for whatever they use for fuel. They're fueling it for something.
Well, it's funny you bring up the discussion of water, because we've discussed this on the show several times before. We used to have a co-host on the show, and his name was Ike McFadden. And it seemed like we get this reoccurring theme when we talk to guests about paranormal activities, whether it be cryptids, but especially ghost activity. And maybe you can comment on this, but when it seems to be near a body of water, like i.e. Galveston, Texas, New Orleans, San Francisco, that there seems to be more activity in that area. And what is your take on that? Have you noticed that water may magnify paranormal activity?
Well, I noticed that too. And I thought, well, maybe it's because, if it was an old stream, a buried stream, there was crystals in the streams, there was some kind of energy source that went around the water on it. Ghosts they're drawn more to the electric, the electromagnetic fields on it, which fruit, if you don't think about it, also has that type of energy too that they'd love to be hanging around with. So they're drawn to that on it, with the tons of it. And we're made up of energy when we die. But we also need, before we die, our bodies have a lot of water in it.
Right.
Is it how they fuel themselves to be able to come down? I think it has a lot to do with everything on it.
Well,
so I mean, water,
it's one thing we've noticed that's occurring, and what we, to talk to guests about, and we might have mentioned this to you, is it could also be that, in ports like New Orleans or Galveston, San Francisco, New York, all these areas, Savannah, Georgia, all these areas that are allegedly haunted. Could it be also too that, these reports, from the dawn of man in this area, that people were using for it. So obviously there's a lot of history in that area, and there could be a lot of imprinted paranormal activity. Could that also be something?
That's true, but that's a different type of activity. When you're getting the imprint is not really, it's, say to speak, the actual haunting from it.
Right.
It's the residual. And how to get rid of it? You can't. You can't. I've never seen ever have anybody be able to get rid of it or anything. But New Orleans, oh boy, that is, it's in Arizona too. Yeah. Arizona's very haunted.
Yeah, you hear about that. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, well, Arizona, where you died, you got buried.
Yeah.
So they have markers everywhere all over Arizona, and some that's not marked. But does that mean because you got buried there that it's haunted? Not necessarily.
One thing I wanted to ask you about.
Can
you hear me? I know we were getting a little bit of
yes.
We were getting a little bit of buffering. I wanted to ask you about the other day when we were talking, you had an entity that visited you while we were talking. In being a psychic medium, I imagine that can be a blessing and a curse. I think we've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. Is there a way that you can turn things off where you're like, I'm not taking any visitors right now. I don't need, can you tell people to go away? Do they show up all the time? Can you be in the middle of, cooking dinner and then somebody walks in the room and wants to talk to you? How does that work?
You can control it. It takes a lot of work, though. I mean, it really does. It takes a lot of experience for you to finally gain that control about how to actually shut yourself down. And when you want to be able to work, you can turn yourself on. For myself, it's almost like my energy field comes from the top of my head. And when I'm working, that will open up and they detect it for miles and miles from here. They know where I'm at. But the only thing with me, the only thing that doesn't shut down is my sight. I have exceptional sight. And that stays on 24/7. So I see them wherever I go. But yes, there is a way to control that. It just takes a lot of work learning how to, and it's worth learning how to, actually. It is. It comes with experience, actually.
When you were first brought on our show a little over a year ago, you were brought on by Pete Haviland, who was our former producer on the show. And Pete was a good friend of mine. I know you knew him as well. And I'd known Pete for about 20 years. Wonderful individual. But he had passed away. And do you find when people pass away that you have a connection with in life, that they're more apt to come visit you? Is that something you've noticed as well?
I seen Pete once, and that was 2 days after he had passed, and haven't heard from him or seen him since. So, I just like to think that he found his peace where he wants to go and be and do, and he's whatever he's up to, he is. I know that. He was an animal lover. To me, he's with his dogs and his animals and doing all that kind of stuff. He's at peace. Yeah. But the third day after you passed, he did stop by and I saw him and stuff. So, he was very clear. Make no mistake. He showed me his whole self. So, yeah.
So
I see Peter James, which is just like, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, when people appear to you, do they speak to you just like I'm talking to you right now? Do they talk telepathically? How does that work? Do you just get a message, or do they just appear in front of you and that's it?
Most of the time, they'll just show themselves, and then it depends. I have to raise my vibration to meet theirs. They're on a higher level than I am. So, with that balance, then I can start hearing them. Their sentences aren't as full as what ours is. And often what they'll do is go through describing themselves, I ask for a validation that only that they would know of. If I'm going to give somebody a message, then I ask for that validation. You have to give me something that only they're going to know. I don't want nothing else in that on it, or they'll make me feel how they died. Something that's important that would bring up that you can identify them with. So, I can hear them pretty clear. It sounds like they're in a tunnel.
Are they able to I know this is all speculation, but you seem to know a lot more of this than all of us do. Are they able to see us? Are they able to watch us? Do they watch over us? People always wonder, as being a recent widower, you wonder, is she watching? Is she pleased with the way things go? And does that happen in your eyes? Do they watch over us, and do they see what we're doing in life, or are they just off doing their own thing?
I think they feel more than they see, because we're connected by energy.
Yeah.
You were married, and your energy is always going to be tied to her. It's like her son's, that's a deep energy, that deep love. That love is always going to stay with them. It makes them more peaceful,
Right.
Can they interrupt your life? I would say that they might put things in the way that something's really harmful for you that would deter you from doing that. They can't stop you from living life. They don't want to do that because we're all here for our own lessons and stuff. But they can't really. I would like to say that they can see us as outlined in a way sense, but basically our energy and our aura is what they see.
Right.
So like if you're doing something that's something private, it's not like that they can see you clearly what you're doing, but you're by your energy. Yeah.
Wow. You, we've also talked about the fact that one thing that Pete did was very special is he worked with a lot of people to help. I don't think people knew how many people individuals that Pete helped find lost children, messages from loved ones. He worked with police departments, and he's kind of an unsung hero. And I know you've done some of that in the past as well. And you told me that it was very rewarding to work with. Do you work with individuals? Have you done that? And how does that work now?
It just depends on it. I've worked with the police department, the FBI, the CIA and stuff. And we had to go on a hike with this missing hiker. And, they thought there was foul play. And he had registered before he went on the hike. He just never came back from it. But he was a very experienced hiker, very, very experienced hiker and stuff. But they were adamant about the fact that they thought something really happened to him. So I went. It was a 6-hour hike, and I could see him. He was walking ahead of me, and he just kept going. Kept telling me, "Come on, come on." And I thought, "Oh God, how am I have to go up that boulder?" He kept pointing right over here. He's pointing right at me, right here, right here. This is where I'm at. And as soon as they helped me up that boulder, and I went around the corner. This poor guy had fell between these boulders and
he was in a crevice.
Wedged in.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get out. And that's where he died. But, when it comes to that, thank God we found his body.
Yeah.
Helped his family a whole lot. But there's been cases that, it's very, very sad. It's extremely difficult to find missing children that have been killed or murdered and whatever it was on it, and, missing and have to report that this is where they're at. Yeah.
And I imagine it must also be heartbreaking when you do have the person come to you, the deceased person come to you, and you're trying to help, but you just can't put the pieces together. That must happen as well, right?
Right. There was a case of this girl, I won't give her last name, her first name was Molly. And, I tried so hard, and she was in a ravine by a covered bridge. Now, it was in Illinois. It was in Illinois. They have like tons of covered bridges everywhere that could show where that covered bridge was at. So they never did find her body. I tried for years and years to find her, to get her to show me the marker, and she just couldn't do it. So she went, and
Well, if you're just joining us, our guest tonight is our guest co-host. Let's see. I think we're getting a little bit of buffering, but if you're just
okay.
Yeah,
you're not buffering here. Maybe you're just buffering. Okay.
I think it's my connection. I think it's one of your spirits that are messing things up here because we're getting a little bit of buffering. You got somebody there?
Well, they're always I've had a lot of activity the last couple of days, and I think it has to do with the weather change and it's just, as long as it's not John Denver again that sings to me for a week, I'm cool.
Yeah, we told that story last time. We wanted to, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Tuesday Miles. She's a psychic medium. She's our guest co-host tonight on the Road Beyond podcast, and she'll be here again next week. Tuesday, I want to get into some crazy videos we have so we can maybe take a look at those, and I'm going to share my screen and play a couple of those. Let me see if I can get the first one up. If you had a chance to see this Tuesday, I'm going to let me share my screen here, folks, if you can bear with me. All right. Okay. All right. You see this?
Oh, yeah.
Take a look at there. So this was on Instagram, and our producer, Scotty Barrett, who is on leave right now, he'd sent this to me. Now, if you take a look at this and you listen to the audio, people are going, what is going on here? It's a winged being something But if you look closely Tuesday, I'll ask you, what's your take on this?
It looks like some crane is pulling up a wire, like someone's holding up on a wire, and it looks like he's got somebody below him. There's two people there, almost like it's a rescue.
A rescue, or could it be a statue, that they're transporting?
Maybe so. But when he hits it with the stick, look, see, it moved.
Moving around. Yeah. I don't know, folks. I'm not buying it, but it's pretty good. It's interesting, and you can find it on Instagram. Just another one you can chalk up. And this is obviously somewhere, it looks like it's in South America. So there you go.
Hey, it is a little odd. It really is.
Now, this next video is very interesting, but I think it could be an optical illusion. Take a look at this. This is the one that was shot either on a cruise ship. Looks like it was on some type of boat, but you're going to see, there you go, a fleet of UFOs. There we have it, a fleet of UFOs here. And I personally think this is an optical illusion. That's just my tendency on that. I don't know, Tuesday, what do you think? And we'll see it again.
Play that one more time. I want to see where the sun's at. I want to see where that's okay. So the sun is. It's going to come across with it. It's really the sun. So the sun. Okay. So because the sun's all the way over on the other side.
Yeah.
Usually with UFOs, they have a red or green light with them. Sometimes there's that. And the formation of that is kind of unique.
It is a weird formation. But if you've seen things, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. But if you've seen things on water, you know that there are times where you can see like a reflection of things that are on the water. So that happens from time to time. So I'm thinking it could be a reflection on the water. So hey. Tuesday, Derrel Sims has just logged into the room. You want to let him in? We've got about 6 minutes or so to go. We can let him in for about 5 minutes, and maybe.
Why not? Come on.
All right, we're gonna bring him in the room. All right, and Derrel Sims is joining.
Okay, great.
Now, Derrel Sims is known as the Alien Hunter, and Derrel, hey, it's good to see you.
Hey, great to see you.
We appreciate you joining us. Yeah, we've been live. We just been flying without a net here, just going over some stuff. But we got about 5 minutes. We can ask you a couple of questions. But thanks for being here, Derrel. Want to get your take, though, on one thing, too. By the way, Tuesday Miles is with us as our guest co-host. Psychic medium Tuesday Miles is with us. And wanted to get your take on one of the things that's been going on in the news recently. And this was a video that was released by NASA, but everybody's seen it. On September 26, NASA deliberately crashed the DART spacecraft into an asteroid to study how effective this technique could be for protecting Earth. Derrel, what's your take on what happened last month?
Well, I may have a little inside information on that. We have an organization called the Houston UFO Network, and about 7 years ago, we had a scientist who briefed NASA on this specific issue. In fact, several meteors were coming close to Earth, and one of them had a near miss, and we weren't even told about it. He let everybody know and gave us coordinates and all kinds of effective stuff and so on. He said basically there is no effective plan, and this probably is an alternative plan. That scientist later died about 2 years later.
Oh, wow.
But he told us all about it.
Oh, wow. Wow. So there was some other alternate plan going on, more than just testing, because, more than just testing to see if you could knock its trajectory out. There's obviously something happening that we need some defense on. Tuesday had a great take. We were going over your material earlier this week, Derrel. And Tuesday, you want to ask that because if your family is getting, you handle with abductions. And Tuesday, you want to talk about this, how you can protect your family, or how would you?
Yeah. Is there, have we come up with a way that you can actually protect yourself against, the abduction, whether or not, if it's still within your family and your family members are being abducted, can you protect yourself?
Well, that's a great question. And there's a lot of argument about it on both sides of the fence. Generally speaking, where I come in generally is where people have children that are being abducted or contacted, and they want to know what to do. And I give children pretty good ideas on how to deal with that from a child point of view. And the best way to generally answer that is that when the alien begins to appear, many people have a sense that they're coming. They get scared, they get hyper, they get worried at that point. Children is a good example. And as a result, that's a signal, from my point of view, of a person to do something that is annoying and difficult for the alien to deal with. And one of the ways to do that is literally to sing a song. I don't care what it is, some nonsensical song that you can do that literally drives them nuts. The little gray is usually the one who comes to pick you up, and he's got an IQ of about 80. And if you can keep him focused on what you're doing so that he can't get you to do what he wants done, they'll often leave. They just simply don't know what to do with him.
Derrel, that's an incredible point. We are running out of time. We're about to run out of time on the show, but we appreciate you being here. I've only got about a minute and a half left. Derrel Sims, you can find him at thealienhunter.com. We're going to have his link in our social media post. Tuesday, you're back next week, right?
I am. I'm back next week.
All right. Tuesday, I'll be here on a Monday. Derrel, we're going to bring back in the near future. Derrel, thank you for being here.
Oh, good. Today. Yes. Got lots of things for him.
We're going to have a lot more for you in the future, Derrel. And Tuesday, thank you for joining us. And all of you, look for us at the Road Beyond podcast and social media. You can find us across social media, also on Instagram as @Todd Duplantis 65. Have a great week. We'll see you next week on the Road Beyond podcast.